Good, Brent. Okay, we're going to call to order this meeting of the Valley Center Planning and Zoning Board and Board of Zoning Appeals for Tuesday, April 23rd. For those willing and able, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Gary Jansen,
Here.
Paul Springer,
Here.
Steve Conway,
Here.
Ryan Sheldon, Bill Berger,
Here.
Scott Phillips,
Here.
Dalton Wilson.
Here. Okay, assuming everybody's had the opportunity to see the agenda for tonight's meeting, are there any questions or comments? If not, I make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
We
Doesn't
have
matter.
a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next up is approval of draft minutes of the March 26th, 2024 meeting. Any questions? Comments? If not, I make a motion, we approve the draft minutes as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Communications.
Good evening, everyone. It is April, which means that it's election season for our board. We, as you know, elect officers, chairperson, vice chairperson, and secretary. These terms are for 1 year from April to April. And so, as always, when it comes to the secretary, my office is completely willing to serve in that capacity. We just need to make a motion and then vote for a chairperson and vice chair for this next 12-month calendar period. So anyone on the board can make a motion. We'll start with the chairperson and then do the vice chair and then the secretary.
I'll make a motion for Gary Johnson to continue his chairmanship.
Second.
That's usually how it goes. All right. Okay, so we have a motion and a second that I'll stay on as chair. I assume I probably won't vote for myself, but whatever.
if you want.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unfortunately not. You sure? I'll make a motion that Paul Springer remain as vice chair, if you're willing to do so.
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I assume I should have asked. Was anybody else interested?
I'll go no.
You guys did do such a good job.
That's usually how it goes. Yeah, that's okay.
Motion to have Ryan Schreck to serve as secretary again.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Ryan will continue as secretary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to move on to first public hearing item, right?
Yes.
Our first public hearing item is review of CU 2024-01, application of Michael and Tammy Miller pursuant to City Code 17-1009, who are petitioning for conditional use approval to allow for a single-family residence to be used as a bed and breakfast, which is currently addressed as 125 North Ash in Valley Center. If you're not opposed, Ryan, at 7:04, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing before you get started, so you can have at it.
All right. Thank you again. So as you noted on the agenda, we convened as the Planning and Zoning Board as well as the Board of Zoning Appeals. The reason we did so is because conditional use applications as well as variances fall under the jurisdiction of the Board of Zoning Appeals, which you serve as well as the Planning and Zoning Board and the Stormwater Citizens Advisory Committee. So we're meeting as two of those bodies this evening to review first this conditional use application of Mike and Tammy Miller. Again, the project is the proposed conditional use address is 125 North Ash Avenue. Per the city's zoning code, R1B or single-family residential district homes are allowed under a conditional use to be used as a bed and breakfast. All of the parameters are listed in the staff report, and the application does meet those parameters in terms of off-street parking, utilities, and subsequent subsequent requirements. I will note that this property was a long-term rental and is moving into a short-term rental. At the end of the staff report, you also have a letter from the applicants stating why they are requesting this conditional use application. The public notice, the standard public notice was published in the newspaper, as well as letters submitted to the surrounding property owners per state law requirements. I only received one inquiry in that allotted time with questions about why the applicants were requesting it to be converted into a bed and breakfast. At this time, I will note that the applicants, Mike and Tammy Miller, are with us in the audience this evening. I've actually invited them to come up and share with us what their plans are in terms of the type of operation that they're going to have. And after that, we'll stand for any questions as well.
Please do. I have a quick question for you. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Come on up. This will only take a second. Did you say the required notification is just the adjacent property owners only?
200 feet.
Or, okay.
So
I
200
just
feet
wanted-
from the, so a public notice in the newspaper, and then 200 feet
200
from the
feet.
boundary of this property in all four directions.
Just want to clarify. Thank you.
Yes.
I thought I heard him say it. Yeah.
Hello, Michael Miller, 650 Scott Street. So yeah, we are requesting the conditional use to use this property as an Airbnb. So it won't be a traditional bed and breakfast to where we're actually going in and serving breakfast every single morning. It's more of like a hotel, short stay rental. My wife actually looked up and there aren't any in Valley Center. So with Lavinia very close, graduations, all those things. People would be able to come in and just rent our house for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nights a week. We have multiple properties here in town that we use as long-term rentals, but actually we keep all those on a month-to-month lease. So this is actually just, we'd go through Airbnb, we'd go through VRBO. We'd actually be able to just do some bookings privately as well. So it's just an alternative to going and staying in a hotel when you're coming into town, if that makes sense.
Okay, and then I've had some, it is going to be a long-term rental, but I also have had some ladies reach out to me that do crafts. And I don't know that you know this, but Angie has a crafting retreat out by the high school, and she's going to be closing that in May or June of 2025. And they've already reached out to me to say, hey, could we rent it for the day from like 9 to 5 and do all of our little quilting, crafting stuff at the tables. And then I don't know. I talked to Lavinia, and Lavinia said that they would collaborate with us for weddings, things like that, so that people could have a place to stay very nearby. We feel like with it being so close to Tequila's, to Main Street Valley Center, the things that go on in Main Street Valley Center, including Fall Festival and the bar, everything. They can walk to pretty much anything in town from that house. So that's why we thought it would be a good addition to our community.
Nice. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anybody else from the public who'd like to speak on this item? If not, it's 7:09. We'll close the public hearing and return the discussion to the bench. I think it's an interesting concept. I'd be intrigued to see how it works. I use Airbnb a lot. They're really handy, so this will be good. Any questions, comments?
No.
Seeing none, based on the city staff recommendations, public comments and discussion by the Board of Zoning Appeals, I make a motion to approve CU 2024-01.
Second.
A motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Good luck. All right, item number 2, review of SP 2024-01, application of Builders First Source pursuant to City Code 1712, who's petitioning to build a 46,200 square foot industrial building on property currently addressed as 801 South Meridian and Valley Center. At 7:10, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing, and Ryan, you got it.
All right, great. Thank you again. I would note before we move on to this application that The Millers did note that there are no other Airbnbs in operation in the community. A question that I did receive is if there are others that want to do this, how does that work? They would go through the exact same process. So again, these are reviewed on a case-by-case basis. So in case anyone is worried about a million Airbnbs popping up all over Valley Center, these will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis per the property, and as these are individually looked at. So just wanted to reiterate that fact before we move on to the next application. But thank you, Gary. Yes, again with us, this is Builders First Source. They're back with us again, looking at another significant expansion in our community. We love having them here. It is a great business to have in Valley Center, and this investment, I will note at the onset of this review that this investment represents this is over a $6 million investment that Builders First Source is looking to make in our community. We are grateful for the partnership that we have with them in terms of resourcing, having building materials for all of the new subdivisions and all of the new housing and construction that's taking place in our community. With us this evening, we do have Randy Jackson representing Builders First Source, who'll be more than willing to answer any questions you may have of him as the applicant. But again, this is to construct a 46,200 square foot industrial building. It'll be a millworks facility on the west side of the property. As you know, their base of operations is just off of Meridian, south of the railroad tracks, and west of Ford Street. So again, this has been reviewed by the city staff review team. Again, very excited to recommend approval of it tonight. In terms of public review, again, the public notice was put in the newspaper, and a letter sent to the surrounding property owners. Only received, again, one inquiry regarding this project, but no one was opposed to it. City staffs, we again do recommend approval and stand for any questions that the board may have at this time.
Thank you, Ryan. I just had a chance to glance at this, and for some reason I lost my orientation on this map compared to the first one. So explain to me what we're looking at here.
So on this map, Brent, can you put your cursor over the old Leakers building? So
Close.
That's okay. So on the northeast corner of this site plan, that is the old Leakers building, which has been converted by Builders First Source. And then to the south of that, you have the warehouses, the open-faced warehouses. Meridian is to the east of that. Yeah, farther that way, there's the large parking lot. And then this new facility will be built on the west side, the back side of the property. There's a berm, or there's a rather large pile of dirt there right now. But again, that's where the building will be constructed. And then, of course, there'll be a paved area that connects to the existing paved area as you move farther to the east.
Makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then I will note that in the staff report, we also have renderings as well of what this facility will look like. Here's an aerial shot. So the area where the cursor is now, thank you, Brent, that is the approximate location of where this will be built. And just to continue with the site plan review process, this is required for all new commercial buildings, and so commercial industrial buildings. So once the board votes, should you vote to approve this, the next step is that the building plans will be submitted to Sedgwick County for review and approval. And then after that approval has been granted, then Builders First Source will be able to submit their building permit application to start work on this building. We're very excited about this project because our building inspector, Bill Andrews, finished his commercial inspector certifications at the end of last year. So this will be one of the first large commercial projects that our staff will be able to inspect.
Good deal.
Yes, very exciting.
Thank you, Ryan. Anybody from the public like to speak on this item?
You don't have to.
Applicant? You don't have to. Ryan did a good job explaining it.
Thank you.
If there's no one else from the public who'd like to speak on this item, at 7:15, we'll close the public hearing and turn the discussion to the bench. Anybody else? Questions, comments? Easy enough. Okay. Based on city staff recommendations, public comments, and discussion by the Planning and Zoning Board, I make a motion to approve SP 2024-01. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you, Randy.
Glad to see it's happening. Okay. Last item is review of SD 2024-01, application of the Douglas E. Kirkland Revocable Trust pursuant to City Code 1604, who is petitioning for approval of a preliminary plat for land located southeast of the intersection of 77th Street and West Street. And we'll, keeping with the same theme at 7:16, we'll open up the public hearing. Brian, please.
All right. So as you may or may not be aware, we had a recent annexation into the city of Valley Center. These two lots were recently approved for annexation by city council. And so we're going to zoom out here and move a little to the west. Thank you, Brent. So this area currently is occupied with a single family home and some agricultural buildings. The applicant is requesting has submitted the application for this preliminary plat, which has been reviewed by the city staff review team. The public notices have been taken care of as well. And we do recommend approval at this time. As noted in the staff report, this plat will create a total of 35 new lots, along with 2 designated reserve areas. As you know, what happens first is that the preliminary plat is reviewed by you as the Planning and Zoning Board. Should you vote to approve it, then next month at the May Planning and Zoning Board meeting, we'll receive and review the final plat. Once the Planning and Zoning Board once you have reviewed this, then it goes to City Council for final approval. Once City Council grants final approval on a final plat, then it is sent for recording with Sedgwick County. But again, this will create new right-of-way on the south side of 77th, as well as a new street that'll branch out into 2 cul-de-sacs. Stand for any questions. I will note that the applicant and applicant's engineer are here to answer any questions you may have. With this property being annexed into the city of Valley Center per our zoning code, when a property is annexed into Valley Center, what we do is take the existing zoning by county and align it with the closest city zoning. So this property went from RR, which is rural residential, to RR1, which is our suburban residential district. And the style of these lots does conform with that lower density residential zoning. So we don't have to do a rezoning along with this platting project. It's just the preliminary plat and then the final plat.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yes.
Agent, anybody like to provide any comments?
Good evening, Will Clevenger with Garver. I'm here tonight with Ryan and Galen Dent. We're excited about this residential subdivision. We ask for your approval tonight for the preliminary plat and to be able to proceed with the final plat. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, thanks for being here. It's kind of cool to see. I, for whatever reason, couldn't get stuff to print off the right way. Is this asphalt mat streets?
Yeah, that's
Just out of curiosity. Yeah. Oh, good. Single family.
okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, anybody got anything for Will?
The existing home, I assume that's the existing home that's right there in the center?
Yes, we're going to preserve that.
Okay, okay.
Small question that is probably insignificant at this stage, but there's 2 different names for this development on the documentation that we have. Is there a name for it yet, or is that still up for discussion?
Rio Bella Edition.
Okay.
Yeah, the other name was an older name that we
Sure, yeah, I just thought I'd ask. Thank you.
Thanks, Will. If you want to come to the podium, that'd be great. And if you give us your name and address, that'd be great, please.
My name's Brad Isham, and I'm at 4300 Palos Verdes Drive, which is in this general area. My question was, in the council meeting, somebody mentioned sewer service coming out there. And I think what I'm seeing in the plans is it's going to be septic and well water. Is that correct? So there won't be any new city utilities coming to that area. That was my concern, because when that area was taken in by the city, they did an estimate, and it was about $50,000 per property to take services out there. So that was the concern. But I think, I don't know where the comment came from in the city council meeting. With somebody, it sounded like you guys were asking for sewer service.
Yeah, Yeah, if you got any other questions, you might direct them up here, but does that answer your question?
Yeah, that answers.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else who'd like to speak on this item?
Hi, my name is Mark Kane. I live at 3700 West 77, so I'm right across the street. I'm the third one in from West 77. Yeah, right there. That's it. The questions I had is minimum square footage on those houses. I know when we built our house, it was 2,000 square foot minimum in our Ranchos Del Rio, so I don't know what they're thinking here.
Ryan, do you have that information or
I would ask that information of the applicant. Do you have any other questions?
Yeah,
But I would say if you will, I would ask questions and then allow the applicant.
yeah.
okay. And you asked about the single family housing, so that means no duplexes, no fourplexes, none of that stuff. And
That was why I asked. Yeah.
another question is this going to have an HOA to help keep things cleaned up? Because if you don't have an HOA, you get one person out there and they decide it's a junkyard because you got 1.5 acres, 2 acres, and they start lining the edge with all kinds of stuff. So I guess my question is, do you think this is going to have an HOA?
Yeah, let's just have them all.
Wear and tear on 77th Street with more coming down. Now, to be honest with you, I don't think 77th gets much wear and tear except for the trash trucks, but they'll be stopping more on both sides, I think. So I'm just curious whether that's any kind of concern at all, because the edges of those roads at 77th easily cracks out. You have to kind of stay in there for it not to. And my last question is the land along the river. We have a 22-acre commons area in Ranchos Del Rio. I just wondered whether the housing back toward the river, that'd be way back. Is there going to be a common area along the river for the whole setup, or is that all going to be private? Anyway, that's my questions.
Thank you.
I will answer some of those questions. Again, to reiterate, with RR1 zoning, that is single family zoning. So RR1 only allows for single family homes to be built on property. So that does not include duplexes, triplexes, multifamily apartments. It is strictly for these lots. RR1 means single family. So no duplexes will be approved at this time. And then in terms of the river, Brent, can you scroll up to the first page of the staff report? Thank you. So in terms of river access, the only access to the river is on the far south, thank you, the far southeast corner. And so those lots, now if you visualize this, and then if we go back to the preliminary plat map, sorry. You'll note that most of the lots do not touch the river, only a couple of these lots here on the back. And there is a drainage easement, so there is no common area, as mentioned by Mr. Kane. There is no common area. That's not to say that the developer couldn't decide they want to make one, but as the preliminary plat stands now, the backs of those lots are going to be in a drainage easement, and so that area, which is in the floodplain, would remain undeveloped at this time. I will turn it over to the applicant to answer questions regarding the HOA if they have plans to create one.
Brian, real quick, one question for you. RR1, is there any, not that these properties probably have concern for rental, but and is that something that's just strictly up to the developer's decision, or is that zoning in any way?
In terms of?
For the properties to become rental properties, even if they are going to be single family?
That would be up to the property owner. I mean, unless there's something written in the HOA rules, which the city does not enforce HOA regulations. Those are private regulations.
Mm-hmm.
However, if someone did, let's say a developer or someone bought a lot, built a single family house on it, and then wanted to use it as a rental property, they could do so. Yes.
Yeah, these are fairly large lots, so that's probably unlikely, but just out of curiosity.
If someone submitted a building permit, we would only accept a single family home.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification.
Great. Thank you.
list of the questions. I'm Galen Nett, by the way. Okay. I'm Galen Nett, Net Development, and my son Ryan and I are the developers of this project. Not the owners, but we are the developers. As far as the HOA, there will be an HOA for the project. We will have some common areas. We haven't considered the river HOA issue. Will you? That's that question. Those are common areas. Yeah. Are you on the HOA, the board? No, you're not. Do you know if the board would be? Do you know if the board would be interested in sharing that? We have to consider that we could have that conversation. I don't know if it would. I really don't know if it'd be applicable to this property. What was that next question? Minimum square footage. This is prelim plat. We're still real early on this. So we don't have minimum square footages. And once we do, it will be in our design criteria. We don't typically have minimum square footage in our subdivisions. We did Lakewood Hills Estates, which is similar to this, in Park City. Also Cetera that we have here in Valley Center, it's similar. And Emerald Bay Estates is a subdivision that we did. And they're all more in the upper end price ranges. And we go more for price point than we do for square footage. In other words, if my philosophy on it is if you have a 1,800 square foot house, that's builds out at $750,000 because it's stretched out and it looks really great from the front. Curb appeal is real important to us. And or you had a 2,000 square foot box. I'm not going to approve the 2,000 square foot box. So anyway, that's kind of how we work. We work price point, not as much on square footage, but our price point out there we're thinking is going to be probably 350 and up. 350 is pretty hard to hit anymore. It's getting harder with what we'll be hitting there. So yeah, we'll probably be at 4. We tried to do 300 in Lakewood Hills. We ended up at 400 to 2 million. That's what the houses ended up in that project. We hope to keep this one slightly less than that, but I can see some of those river lots in the back pulling some pretty nice properties. I know that isn't the exact answer you're looking for, but we're going to do a nice one. Next question.
Again, with the river, most of these lots on the east side do not touch the river. They end before the river does. Again, going back to so these two lots, as you can see, the easternmost lot, only that southeastern portion even touches the river. Area that's on the east river that is encompassed in a reserve that'll be maintained by the property owner to the south. They use that drive for access. I think the only other one was on 77. If you want to speak to right away,
Right. The right of way for the cul-de-sac actually already exists, but it's just an easement. So with the plat, we're proposing a dedication to make that full public right of way.
Brent, can you zoom back or go back to that southeast corner? Where you are right now on on that page. So currently and then zoom in. So what is being shown here, this is Reserve A. That's where that driveway goes through with the property to the south. You'll note that the owner, Ryan, Craig, and Charity Rebel, that they own the property to the south that's outside of this platted area. But again, that reserve was created for them to continue to use driveway access to their property. Which area are you referring to? That area or the area to the north? The only okay, Brent, back down to the south, the southeast corner. Right. So what you see, that black line on the far side, that is the property line, but it does not go all the way to the river. So this would be part of lot 16.
He's talking about that east plat
You're talking
boundary,
about-
that
so
gap
this-
between that
so-
and the river.
Yeah, so that area to the east, that little bump out that goes along the river, that is not part of this platted area.
It'll just stay the way
Right.
it is.
Yes. Right. Yeah, that would be part where the cursor is now, that'd be part of lot 16.
Good. Anything else? Okay.
Yeah, only if you have any other questions.
Brett, do you have something?
And so that area there on the north side of lot 16, I think where Mr. K is referencing as well. So this line right here, that will be in a publicly dedicated easement. And so that does go across the river there. And so at some point, that is where the city would have water and sewer utilities ran for the developments out west. Whether that be now or later, we should have those numbers from the engineers by the end of the week. Then we'll have those conversations. Since it's a preliminary plat, we're fine with having just the water and sewer saying that it's going to be well and septic for now, but those are conversations we'll have later. Just so you're all aware.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, to come that 40-foot utility easement north and south between 16 and 17 also then. So then that's where the sewer main would come down, or water main or what have you as well. So, just so you're aware. So this is the only piece that was needed for the entire access in the publicly dedicated right of way for the sand pit. Thank you.
Brent, just because you're kind of our resident road expert, there was a public comment about 77th and the possible maintenance of that road. Do you have any comments about that? I mean, I assume that just falls into our normal maintenance plan, but.
Yeah, it does. Until we actually go in there and do a full depth replacement, then we'll talk, if there's any special or those things. But if you recall, the mayor and council did pass and approve in this year's mill and overlay street maintenance plan. We are doing mill and overlays in certain areas on the west side of the Little Arkansas River. And so the circles, kind of the cul-de-sacs are on the chopping block for this year. And then the rest of those areas, not necessarily, 77th or West Street, but those other ones, Rio Grande and Vista, all those, Bella Vista, all those ones will hopefully be the next year. And then we'll focus on then 77th and then also West Street at a later date. But they are on our map for, to do in the next 5 years, all the streets over there with the mill and overlay.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that question got answered.
There was one other thing, as far as design, we do have a berm plan to go around the subdivision also. So,
Completely around?
yes, well, two sides beyond the paved roadways.
Good, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Anybody else from the public who has any questions, comments? All right, 7:35, we'll close the public hearing. Anything else from the board? If not, based on city staff recommendations, public comments and discussion by the Planning and Zoning Board, I make a motion to approve SD 2024-01.
I second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Good luck.
Good project.
Okay, any old unfinished business? Any new business?
No.
No staff reports?
Just a brief report, yes. Did want to let the board know that in case you haven't heard, the city council did review the applications for the firms that have submitted a response into the RFP for the comprehensive plan. The city council did vote recently and approved a contract with Foster Design Associates. So we will be working closely with them to draft and approve the new comprehensive plan, 10-year comprehensive plan during 2024. So we actually have our staff kickoff meeting with them next week. And then I know early on they will be meeting, representatives with Foster will be wanting to meet with you as the Planning and Zoning Board, as well as our steering committee. So again, we've approved the contract and we'll be hitting the ground running here soon on developing our new comprehensive plan this year. That's all I have.
Did they do the last plan?
So the last 10 years was an internal update. My predecessor, Warren, and I believe some others did that internally. I think Foster may have been involved, but again, that was before my time, so I don't know what their level of involvement was. The plan prior to that, yes. The 10-year plan prior to that one, Foster did do that one.
I was thinking of.
So that was the previous one, and then the one that we've just come off now, that was more of an internal update by staff.
I heard you talk about steering committee. Do you mind if I ask? Who's that made up of? Do you know?
So, and I think you may have missed that meeting, but we have, the steering committee is comprised of representatives from various governing boards and bodies. So Dalton and Paul are the representatives for the Planning and Zoning Board. We
Appreciate not being nominated while I was gone.
Yes, you got off, Gary, on that one, yes. But we have representatives from City Council, of course, the Planning and Zoning Board, the Economic Development Board, the Outdoor Spaces Board, as well as some at-large representatives from the community, business representatives. So I think it's a very good cross-section of key stakeholders that are here in Valley Center. They will meet periodically to provide input. We'll also have a couple of public meetings as well, more of an open house style where residents can come and provide their input on the draft plan. Here is the list. So our City Council representative is Councilmember Colbert. And then you'll see our two representatives from the Planning and Zoning Board, and it goes on from there.
Thank you, Brett. And thank you too for.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out.
Appreciate that.
Yep. So again, for Paul and Dalton, I will be contacting you when we have some potential meeting dates for the steering committee to meet. But they also will meet periodically with the Planning and Zoning Board. And then per state statute, how a comprehensive plan is approved, it is first approved by you as the Planning and Zoning Board and then City Council. So our goal is that we can accomplish that during the month of December. If not December, early January of 2025. So it's a pretty aggressive schedule, but we're very confident that we've got a good city staff team, a good steering committee, and we'll be working with the public as through the steering committee and you as the Planning and Zoning Board as we work through the process to create our new 10-year plan. And besides that, the only thing is, if you will, please hold May. The deadline for applications for the May Planning and Zoning Board meeting, that is next Monday. So I'm aware of potentially one application that may be submitted, maybe two, definitely the final plat. So please do hold, I believe that is May 28th. I can double check that. Yes, May 28th will be our next board meeting. So if you will, please keep a hold on that date, May 28th, 7 p.m. We will have at least the final plat for Rio Bella and potentially a couple of other applications as well. And that's all I had this evening.
Are you ready for a construction question?
Absolutely.
Is this stretch of Meridian finished before the other one starts, or what's?
It'll be done before Fall Festival.
No, I wondered when the south one was.
When the south end is going to start, I would defer to our city administrator.
No, I was trying not to talk this evening.
Hello.
You already did.
I did well. And so it kind of really depends upon Pearson Construction, their schedule on some other projects. And so I just found out actually last week during our bi-weekly meeting that they may bring another crew in and start tearing up on the south side before they're entirely finished with the north side. So I said, hey, if it can get that roundabout done any quicker, I absolutely would take that. And so we'll try to start with doing the roundabout first potentially, and then jump back up north doing the train tracks, then doing stretch it between. But during the southern phase, so basically from Ramsey Drive south all the way 400 feet south of 69th Street, during that construction, there will be 2 lanes, so one way each way. So they'll do 2 lanes on the east, 2 lanes on the west, or vice versa, whichever one they decide first. Because everything on the east side, the sidewalks, the curb line, all that stays. So there'll be new concrete road from the gutter line basically west. And then on the west side is where the 8-foot, 10-foot, one of those two, 8 or 10-foot sidewalk will be brand new on the west side. But during the construction, though, there will always be traffic except for when the roundabout occurs. Then we'll rip off that Band-Aid and just close it down, get it done as quickly and safely as possible, and open it back up. So,
Good, thank you. Appreciate that.
yeah, absolutely. But they did start pouring sidewalks on the east side, the sexy sidewalks on the east side of Meridian here
I saw that.
today. So
Yeah.
if you all put your name in them, I encourage you not to.
Too late now.
Wow.
Thank you for that update, Brent. I appreciate it. All right, nothing else from you, Ryan? Anything from planning commission members? Safe to say that the pay for the officers is the same as it was last year? Is that right?
My dying gratitude is always.
Yeah, thanks. I want to make sure we still had that. All right, if there's nothing else, I move we adjourn. Everybody, pick one. Yeah. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.